Hello, this is Talking Reds, me Gareth Roberts, Craig Hannan, 12th of December, Tuesday, the day before Liverpool face West Brom in the Premier League and hopefully batter them and hopefully let us forget all about the debacle in the derby. So what's been going on in the world of the Reds so far? Well, Salah has been announced as the African Player of the Year, which is nice because he's boss, and that's nice. Yes. What else is happening? Jürgen Klopp has got his press conference this afternoon where he'll be discussing, no doubt arguing with journalists, rotating his players, Dejan Lovren, dodgy penalties, and what he's going to do against West Brom. We'll be watching that, and then we'll be recording a podcast straight after called The Team Talk. If you subscribe to Tour Player, you will be able to listen to that. In the papers, we're going to get into detail in the papers in the second half of the show, but just something about Liverpool specifically, which I wanted to talk about, is that there has been more chat in the papers and in the media generally about Klopp's rotation. Apparently he's made 20 more changes to his sides than any of the other clubs in the Premier League, so he is really going for it. And Andy Hunter in The Guardian's put together a bit of a piece on it. Before I get into that, just a little plug up, by the way, for the free Anfield app show yesterday. It was really good in that, and the reason I liked it was that there was disagreements around the table, which I like an argument. I love an argument. Can we have an argument?
The Anfield Raps kick off.
So there was an argument, and we had an argument, and it was good because, you know, Rob had one view, I had another one, Neil was throwing in, Paul Senior was throwing in, and it was all around the rotation and about whether things would have been different had he not made those changes that he made. So it's a good listen, I think, and so if you don't normally listen to the podcast, have a go at that one, see what you think, come back to me and tell me if I was right or not. But anyway, Andy Hunter then in The Guardian, he talks about how the Liverpool manager had arguably missed an opportunity to rotate his forward line before the derby. He says in The Guardian there that Spartak Moscow were 5-0 down after 50 minutes at Anfield last Wednesday, yet only Firmino was withdrawn on 72 minutes, while Coutinho, Mane and Salah completed the full match, which obviously ended up 7-0. Also, he quotes Sam Allardyce, who says that the lineup Liverpool went with, Allardyce says, I would say yes, it did give us a boost. Which is what we said on this yesterday, which perhaps means we're not talking shit, although comparing ourselves to something that Sam Allardyce has said.
You said we were talking shit.
Loads of people, you're not reading the comments. Okay, and then finally what Andy concludes in his piece is that obviously the reason for all this rotation is what happened last year. He says Liverpool won 5, drew 5 and lost 5 of 15 matches in all competitions in December and January last season. That saw us go out of both cups and basically cock it up in the league. So it's fairly obvious as to why he's doing it, but still I think the debate will go on and on, won't it, about whether it was right to do it against Everton. Where it's going to start to disappear is if you win tomorrow, if you win against Bournemouth, if you beat Arsenal, and so on and so on and so on.
Well, Jürgen Klopp will argue that we're in rich vein of form at the minute, no matter what happened at Everton. I think it's more disappointing for us because Everton's the one game we would not be rotating, and that's what's most frustrating. Like, I think what Andy Hunter was saying in the piece there is they should have rotated either the Spartak game or the West Brom game. That's what I would have done. I think that's what the majority of fans would have done. But I think, you know, the proof will be in the pudding if come February, March, we're still in amongst it. We're still in the Champions League, which will be obviously still in the FA Cup, having knocked our neighbours out. Fingers crossed.
Yes, come on.
And if we can put a run together at the end of the season where we don't look tired and other teams do, that's when Jürgen Klopp will be vindicated. But until then, there'll be that debate. But you know, he'll argue we're in a rich vein of form. I think we're 2 points off third, aren't we? It's just a little bit hard to take on the week after the Merseyside derby, drawn against such a poor side.
17 points from 21 it is now since Liverpool lost to Spurs, so there's still plenty to be positive about. The draw was a good one in the Champions League as well, plenty to look forward to. On Tour Player today as well, it is Tuesday, so surprise, surprise, there's a Tuesday review. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically looking again at the derby, but getting a bit more in depth about the tactics used by both sides, shite by Everton, obviously, and also the decisions in terms of substitutions, in terms of the players and everything else. So just getting into it a bit more, taking a second look at it, maybe a bit, you know, a bit more analytical and not so passionately pissed off like the 2 shows that we've had on it so far. So stay with us. In a minute, we're going to look at the papers. Okay, the papers then, and all the focus on the back pages of the papers today is still on this tunnel brawl following the Manchester derby. It feels like all the tabloids are trying to outdo each other here on who can do the best graphic, who can go the most over the top. I mean, it feels like a president died or something here, the way they're going about it. I mean, the Mail here, the Nazi Mail, has called it Watergate. Really? And not only that, when you turn inside, I mean, this is absolutely amazing.
They are the clear winner, aren't they?
They are the clear winner in terms of going over the top about the whole thing. This graphic is absolutely amazing. Can you get that, Sam? Yeah, Sam's giving me thumbs up. Hopefully you can see that. But it's absolutely amazing. It shows you how Mourinho ran from one changing room to another, and how apparently there was a big explosion in the middle.
Yeah, that's the best bit.
I don't think there actually was. Someone's got the top off there. Rojo apparently led United's charge, and like 30-man brawl. It was like a rugby scrum. And I just wonder how much you can carry on about basically some lads having a bit of a scrap after the game. But they carry on. It goes on to another page. This is page 4 now in the same paper. A focus on Ederson and even a tale of the tape between him and Mourinho, because they did go head to head and one told the other to fuck off and all that sort of stuff. The intro to this is absolutely amazing. Under the right ear of Manchester City's Ederson are 2 of his 34 tattoos, a rose and beside it a skull. It is fitting imagery for a goalkeeper whose blend of silk and steel, beauty and beast impresses more by the week. First to the beast. As Jose Mourinho entered the approach to the Manchester City dressing room at Old Trafford on Sunday, Ederson entered centre stage. He fronted up to the United manager, and like it goes on and on and on. Honestly, it's amazing.
It's brilliant how they say manic in Manchester. And if you actually looked at the diagram they've got and you didn't know what had happened, it looks as if, right, this is no man's land. Someone's thrown a bomb, and there's an actual bomb there. Rojo, what's he doing?
Look, where's the actual explosion? There's no explosion.
Mourinho's nowhere to be seen. He's run away, I think.
It's honest to God. I mean, how many more days, lads? I mean, look, you know, there's footy and that coming up, so maybe they'll turn their attentions back to the
milk
footy
as well, didn't they? The milk.
Absolutely wild. But on bust-ups, as the tabloids call it, just a little chat on that, because I like a bust-up. I think a bust-up sound. And so it was making me think before in the office about some of the Liverpool ones we've had down the years. Now, there was the Westerveld Jeffers one in the derby, you know, where they both did that. Not quite sure what that is, but that's what they both did to each other. There was Grobbelaar and McManaman, Grobbelaar and Beglin, and there's a brilliant one, right? Look this up on YouTube, please, promise me you will do. Look up Ian St. John Punch on YouTube, just put that in.
Yeah,
have you seen it?
Yeah,
it's absolutely boss. It's like, there's no messing about, he just absolutely does a 1-2 on this fella and just decks him, and he's gone, and it's like, yeah, you're definitely getting a red card for that, eh? And of course, there's the famous Souness in the European tie against the Romanians, cracks the fella's jaw, although you don't really see it on the footage, so it's a little bit boring, that one. Any favourite bust-ups, Craig?
Oh, there's one on YouTube. Luis Fabiano, look it up. It's absolutely incredible. It's how I'd imagine Gareth punching. It's like
you'll fucking find out in a minute, you cheeky twat. All right, next one is Stan Collymore in the Mirror today, in his column. There you go, in the Daily Mirror. He talks about Klopp. Now, obviously, there's been a big focus on Klopp's argument with the lad from Sky, Patrick Davidson, after the game. I mean, some of it, I can understand why it tempts some criticism. He basically says at one point, I only wanted to talk to people who have a little bit of understanding about football. Now, it's not a nice one, that. But Stan's bailed in. He says of Klopp, he came across as a spiteful and completely unprofessional and perhaps he would have been better served explaining why he'd left out Philip Coutinho and Robert Firmino than getting caught up in a debate about the penalty. It's bizarre that a player can score a hat-trick in midweek, having played brilliantly the previous Saturday, then find himself on the bench for the derby as Coutinho did. I just wanted to sort of put something back the other way on this one, in that it can't be easy when you're fuming as a manager and you walk off the pitch and it's literally, so then what do you think?
It is the last thing you'd want to do. Think about some of the things that you say on the pink, and that's what, I don't mean you, I mean any of us.
An hour after or whatever.
Yeah, an hour and a half afterwards, where you've had time to walk away from the ground, get your thoughts, and then say them on a microphone, and then you regret some of them. So think about, imagine getting us after the derby, just the minute we got onto the concourse, right, what did you think of that? You would say things that you just, and
heat of the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, he at the moment, he regrets it the minute he says it, because he actually apologises as he's walking away. He apologises to the journalist. I think it's a storm in a teacup, really, and you know, I think he's just trying to sell a few papers there. And
easy copy for Stan.
Yeah,
easy copy for Stan. Okay, a good piece today in the Times, finally, from Henry Winter. I'm quite surprised that Henry's done this, if I'm being honest with you, because you know. He's working for a posh paper and he's a posh fella, and I'm not sure how many matches he's been to as a fan, but he's actually sticking up for us fans, so fair play to him on this. What he's talking about is the decision by the Premier League to offer a package of 8 live games on Saturday nights next season. And what he's pointing out quite rightly is that depending on where those games are, it's very difficult for fans to travel around the country on a Saturday night. Trains finish earlier, you know, you're relying on cars and coaches, and if you're travelling from one end of the country to the other, that can take quite a while. And then he talks about Henry about, you know, it's not just this, it's in general about there being not enough consideration for the fans who go home and away in terms of kick-off times, in terms of how games are scheduled. He says here, the Premier League succumbing to Saturday night fever is a parable about modern English football. It's about the greed and the myopia of a game focusing more on funds than fans. Who matters more, the fan in the stadium supporting his or her team through thick and thin, or somebody in a bar in Bangkok? All are welcome, but the match-going lifeblood of the game deserves protecting first. And quite right, Henry. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with him. He points to some examples that are coming up. He says Swansea City have got to go to Everton next Monday night. That's obviously a long journey on a day when most people are going to be in work. He says Manchester City have to go to Crystal Palace for noon on New Year's Eve. And in the Championship next month, Sunderland fans have got to board coaches way before dawn to get to a 12:30 kick-off at Cardiff City. And this is an ongoing thing. He does talk too about the Football Supporters Federation and Spirit of Shankly, who both campaigned for more sympathetic kick-off times and also better ticket prices. It's good to see this though, isn't it, in a paper like the Times, because it feels like for a long time that fans were sort of almost in a bubble, in a circle, speaking to themselves about these issues. Yeah. So for it to be in the national press is a good thing.
Yeah, because it's not a new thing. It's been something that's been debated amongst fans from maybe as long as I can kind of remember, really, but especially over the last 5 years or so, with the TV deals. And yeah, it's good that Henry Winter's shedding some light on it. But I don't think it's something that'll change anytime soon. I think we'll continue to see this. I think with the money within the Premier League now that comes from TV, they're going to call the shots, aren't they? And that's a sad thing. And as well for home fans, like a 7:45 kick-off on a Saturday night, like, or do we just drink all day and then go to? It's going to end terribly, that. And but yeah,
Henry goes deeper in the piece towards the end. I mean, I'm not sure I entirely agree with the whole thing, because towards the end he's talking about impacts on marriages and social fabric, and
that's already happening, Henry.
Isn't Saturday night meant to be when you take, you know, the missus to the pictures and all this sort of thing? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about all that bit, Henry. Do you know what I mean? But the wider point is a good one, and he does say one compromise could be that the Premier League schedule and could be Premier League schedule and fixtures with minimal travel demands. And this is something that I think when we've discussed this, we've talked about, you know, okay, then you might want to sell rights off for Saturday nights. But why not make it a game between clubs in the northwest rather than making Liverpool travel to the south coast on a Saturday night, or far north or whatever? Just use some common sense. I think is what people are appealing for here. I think people get that these kind of deals brings money into the game, means the clubs can play the players, means the players will be better, and means the whole product, which obviously I hate, is better. But again, some really good points from Henry. Worth a read, that one, if you manage to get hold of a copy of the Times today. That has been another Talking Reds. We'll be back tomorrow.